I clicked it, guys. Okay, I'm all live. Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum, viewers. So today is podcast number 3, and our topic today is family responsibilities, inshallah. So today we're going to cover, inshallah, what the responsibilities of the family members are. So we'll go through all the family members, inshallah, and we'll try keeping it light-hearted like we have before and keeping it fun. And I'm sure we learn, inshallah, something how the Mufti Sahab, Molana Sahab, and Dr. Sahab are thinking, and what their ideas on the topic are, and inshallah, how we can improve family life in the modern society, especially with all the challenges that we have and the stuff we feel. So, without further ado, I'll start, inshallah, by asking Mufti Sahab, with the father or the husband as responsible as the head of the family, what are some of his responsibilities in the family unit?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So we, as we've been discussing in the last 2 podcasts and even before during the zakat discussion, is our bunyad, our essence, our foundation is always Islam and the sources of that. And the sources of that obviously is the Quran and the Sunnah. We find in the Sunnah the Prophet of Allah mentioning kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi, that every single one of you is a ra'in. Now this word ra'in is somebody who takes responsibility. It has been translated sometimes to mean a shepherd looking after his flock. So, and then the hadith goes further to mention that the father, the husband, is responsible for the wife and for his children. So when we look at the shepherd, and the hadith and the Prophet were very, he was very articulate. He would always kind of metaphorize. I know that's not a word. But he always tried to give an understanding that the companions could relate to very, very quickly. And a very simple example for all kind of walks of life is the role that a shepherd plays. So the role that a shepherd plays is continuously looking at his herd. Are they going anywhere, the wrong way? Are they going to fall into some kind of ditch? Are they eating the right kind of food? Are they eating the right kind of grass? Is a lamb being abandoned by the mother? Is there a wolf or a pack of wolves roaming around the edge of the woods? He's continuously vigilant. So the Sharia is based on a patriarchal society, and the Sharia puts this burden of responsibility on the man, the male figure. Now, if we take a family that starts, then that's a husband and wife, and as the family grows, then that becomes the father. So when this father who plays a significant role, then he has to be equipped to play that role. And we're quick, and we had that discussion offline on WhatsApp, if you remember, yesterday after the discussion of what we would speak about today, and we talked about rights. But before rights comes responsibilities. And what I mean by that is rights is what you demand from somebody else. So I can demand a right from my wife. I can demand rights from my children. I can demand rights from my Amir. I can demand rights from my employer. Again, similar to the racism discussion we had yesterday, is usually the rights is coming from the one who's in a weaker position to the one who is in a stronger position, because the person who demands rights is the one in need, and they need something from someone. But we don't turn it the other way around and say, hold on, what's my responsibility? What do I have to give to others? So in that regard, the male figure, the husband, has a responsibility to be equipped, educated, both in the akhirat and in the dunya, because not only is he tending to the needs of his family in terms of a house, food, clothing, but he's also responsible to educate his family as well, and tarbiyah. And sometimes we shy away from these kind of terms, that the husband's role in giving tarbiyah for his wife, because it's no longer seen as sort of politically correct. And we're seeing a defensive reaction to that in terms of a feministic sort of attitude which exists. Well, in the Sharia, we have to understand that that's a responsibility which is given to the father, which is given to the husband to apply that, and then obviously to his children as well. So the father's responsibilities are great, and responsibilities and rights go hand in hand, because for a husband to be able to achieve what he needs to achieve, he needs to have power, and therefore he has those rights. He has to be respected. He has to be respected by his children. He has to be respected by his wife.
Yesterday, your sheep were quite loose. They were running around. You weren't looking after them.
But
Which
they
sheep?
were praying on ourselves. They were
They were
praying.
They were,
Alhamdulillah. They were praying, and it's it's he was praying behind my back, quite literally yesterday. But the aim
Right,
is,
not
Molana
bad
Sahib,
thing.
like you're mentioning there, that once the tarbiyah is done, the sheep eventually becomes. Now I know that's where the metaphor stops, but the
Object.
sheep eventually becomes a yeah, the sheep eventually becomes a shepherd. And it's also about empower.
Couldn't
It's
lamb become
also
a hog? Lamb,
through the
hog,
phases.
sheep. Yeah.
So it's about empowering. So eventually you see that even in the absence of
when he's
the
the father
father.
tomorrow, he can look after his children.
Inshallah.
That's right. So it's also an
So
empowering.
are you giving them good tarbiyat? Are
I'm
you
trying
One
my
would hope
best.
so.
trying
One
your
would
best?
hope so.
I'm
That's
trying
good.
my best. I'm trying my
MashaAllah. May
best.
Allah reward you.
Ameen, 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 ameen.
Musa actually mentioned very good points, and responsibility of the father. I think, like the head of the house, he has a big responsibility, um, towards his wife, towards his children, and I think first and foremost is the father needs to know his responsibilities, and he needs to be educated about his own responsibilities. And those education is through deen, is through parents passing on that knowledge to their children as well. And then sometimes life experiences, and a father gets better, uh, and a person gets better going through life experiences. And the father's responsibility is a big one, because you see nowadays when a lot of issues and problems do occur, the father's gone missing or is not in the picture, and then you're thinking, you know the root cause of the problem. So the father is the pinnacle of the house, and he needs to pick up the responsibilities. Very true. Amazing. So
We see that. We even see that, don't we, Mana, in Waqas, in the black community, particular in inner city, inner cities. And similarly, we're now seeing that within our own Muslim Asian community, where young lads are over aggressive. They lack. A mother can play a certain role, the loving role, the merciful role. I know some mothers can be quite tough as well, but it's the father who has to establish his authority and keep the young buck in check, the young cub in check. And when he's not there, then this 13, 14-year-old suddenly thinks that he can do as he pleases.
So setting the ground rules, is that what you're saying, Mufti Sahib? The
Bilkul,
father.
setting the grounds rule and being able to enforce them. Being
So,
able to enforce. We unfortunately, we have the carrot, but sometimes we only work when there's a stick. I don't mean
I
that
think that's just.
literally before
I
anyone
think.
picks that up.
No, I mean, what I was going to ask was, you mentioned obviously within the Islamic fundamentals we have a patriarchal system just innately there, and then we have a patriarchal system innately to most South Asian people anyway. So when the father is trying to be the main breadwinner or the sole breadwinner within the family, for the family, so he's away from the home, how would he establish his authority or his nurturing of his kids whilst he's absent? He's not physically there. He could be 12, 14 hours. A lot of our family, a lot of our brothers, they're on 14-hour taxi driving shifts or working in long distances or away from the home for so many hours. When he does come home, maybe it's at an off time where his children are either going to bed or they've gone to bed, or how would he establish?
Tarbiyat, sometimes we sometimes emphasize too much on education, and tarbiyat is more practical. So if the father has it inside him, whether he's working 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day somewhere, but he has the essence of his Islam inside him, his namaz, his good akhlaq, good character, respect towards others. What will happen is naturally you don't need to tell your child every single time, Putter, you need to do this, Putter, you need to do this, Islam says this, Islam says this. The thing is, if you've got it inside yourself, the children will see and learn from you, as a father, that, oh, my dad, he's respecting his mom and dad, so I need to respect my mom and dad. When I sit in a majlis, I'm supposed to stay quiet and respect the elders around me. So there's adabs that we learn by seeing our elders. Do you understand? And it doesn't need to all be preaching. It can just be practically that it's in the life of the adult. Do you understand?
I would say, man, on top of that is that probably is the tarbiyah. I think the educational element, I think the educational element is somewhat, overvalued, and that just becomes a mean to kind of control. Whereas tarbiyah is, like you said, demonstrative behavior. So
Example, isn't it?
It's the Prophet ﷺ was an example of that, in that he was an example to observe. You do see the Prophet ﷺ, preaching, but you rarely see. I struggle to find a hadith in which he sees Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam kind of teaching tarbiyah to young children or whatever. Bother, when the hand was moved.
Hazrat Zayd's example, when he stayed in the country for Nabi Sallallahu, was it 10 years? And he said Nabi Sallallahu never said, never told me off. So the thing
why
was,
have you done
he
that?
just learned without, just looking at the best example in front of him.
That's right.
That's very good, alhamdulillah. But my question was more to the fact that if a person is not physically there, so if the person is not there and having contact with his children because of his work commitments, or we live in inner city.
But Waqas, even the father going out to work for 8 to 10 hours, that is the view for the child, that as a man, I've got to go out and pick up my responsibility and duties. And then obviously when he comes home,
other things aside from work is
I understand what Waqas is getting at, and it's a valid point. For some of us, it might be easy to be able to, I was quite fortunate in that I could make decisions in my kind of working life to fit around my family, so that I could be there for my family. But that's, not everybody has that privileged position that, alhamdulillah, I had. And some people are in difficult circumstances where they've got to work long hours, and how do they make that time? It's a case of finding that time, Waqas, I would say. And we always talk about quality and quantity, and many of the time it's not the quantity of the time that you're spending with the person, it's the quality of that time, and it's how you utilize that. I always split up raising children into 3 sectors. I say there's a loving stage, there is a tarbiyah stage, and then there's more of a friendly stage. And I don't mean that all 3 stages, meaning that you only express that emotion, that in the first 6-7 years, all you do is love your child. And for the next 6-7 years, all you do is give him a good what for. And the next 6-7 years, he becomes your pal and you're playing snooker with him. What I mean is that there are other aspects of that, but that takes a more predominant role. So when you see, Waqas, I'll give you as an example. When you do things to please your parents, you do it because you love them. When I do things, it's out of love we do this. It's, we do, whether it's with regards to our wives or our
pocket money, don't you?
Yeah, well, okay, that, but not in our day, Molana. Pocket money was hard to come by in our day. I don't know, what I grew up in the 70s.
Shillings, those are shillings, and what was it?
Oh, pocket, it was hard. Remember those snaps, crisps? I think they're still available nowadays. Snaps and the dragon, the red crisp. 6p they used to cost in the local shop.
So, Mutsab, you're getting an Eid, are you?
This year?
Yeah, from your parents?
No.
My parents are still give us Eid.
Do they?
Yeah.
I'm coming to your house for Eid then, inshallah. Yeah. So, do you get what I mean? Is having that kind of
that bond, that connection,
that bond. And then you do things, people did things for the Prophet because they loved him.
Yeah.
It wasn't the instructions he was giving them that, it was our love. So once you establish that, a lot of things we do, which we personally would not want to do, we do out of love.
That's why you see a lot of our parents that came to this country, they spent hours, everything at work, whatever, they sacrificed a lot for us. So sometimes, even though we might not have had that time with our father, we recognize the sacrifices he put in for us to get an education, ta'aleem, tarbiyat, everything. And now, in exchange, we do everything for him. You understand?
So, in the absence of our fathers, because bless them, they were working so long shifts in the mills and stuff.
Yeah.
Our tarbiyah was essentially given through by our mothers, and this was also trying to allude to that. A man in the UK, a Muslim man, he can obviously deputize to his spouse or our mothers, so that tarbiyah is still being instilled onto the children, so that when a person's father come in to the room, he's given the respect that a father ought to have. And that's coming from the mother. The mother has taught their child, this is how you respect your father, because this is how she's been brought up, and she's obviously had that connection with her husband, our fathers, and that's been explained. That's a mutual understanding. So this is what I was really trying to do to that. in the absence of the father, and if he's got work commitments and he's actually fulfilling his role from that side, then there is a deputy that we have in the house, and the deputy is being deputized systematically through to the mother.
In
And
fact,
that's
that's
why
what.
sorry, Musab. I think that's why the father mother are a unit together, and obviously their roles and responsibilities change with time. When your kids are babies, it's different, and when they're 5-year-old, they're different. When they're 17-year-old, they're different. Do you understand? So obvious your priorities change, things change. But the father and mother, they play amongst themselves. They know how to what roles they're gonna play in, helping their child at different moments in their life. You understand? And that's where I think that unit needs to be strong. And I think that's where, today our title family responsibility. Family in Islam is the cornerstone of a very good foundation, a good society, a good environment. If that foundation is weak, then you'll see then a lot of illnesses appear in our society because our foundations are weak. So the stronger our family units are, the stronger our society becomes. And that's why Islam always encourages family units, and the stronger the family unit, that comes with responsibility, that comes with rights, and that comes with respect. All these things come along in this big package.
That,
Muhtar,
that's why we promote the mother and her role as being the homemaker. Unfortunately, because of the society we live in, the role of a mother has been degraded. It used to be held very, very highly. The Prophet ﷺ saying that you find Jannah under the feet of your mother. So the role of the mother was high. People would fight for that to have that role. But now people prefer to be an administrator or a nurse or some. I'm not belittling those roles. I'm saying they see that more as a better career choice than raising the children. So what happens is the husband's already under obligations to work. The wife also wants to work. They want to have young children as well. So children arrive, and then those children are being raised maybe in a nursery or some kind of young under fives type of establishment. Then the school. So tarbiyah is not there. So the deputization which exists and the role, and we always say that the mother's lap is the madrasa, and I'm sure it was someone like Malcolm X who said, educate a woman and you educate a nation. The role that
so
she
most of them
plays.
from a hadith that we learned that a wife, the signs of a pious wife is that she keeps the trust of the husband, where whether it be financial or everything at home. So whilst he's gone out, she's making sure his honor and at home is still there by like you said, the schooling, the talim, the tarbiyah, the looking after, because she's the queen of the house. You can.
Well, if
So
you
what?
if you remember the story, you might mention it in your stories, Qisas on Nabiyyin, where Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam visits his son, and he's away from the house. And when he visits his son was married, and he asks, "What's your halat like?"
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, we've hardly got any food. Negative, negative, negative. Always looking at the negative sides of life and whatever." And then he says, "Oh, pass me my regards to your husband and tell him to change the
The door.
doorstep."
Yeah.
Basically, and then when he comes again, obviously he realizes that, oh, did anybody come today? Yes, an old man came. It was a very nice chap, whatever, whatever. However, this is that he gave you salam, and this is the advice he gave. He says, "Okay, basically, I have to divorce you." The next time he comes around, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, this time again he meets, and this time the wife, obviously is a different wife. She speaks so highly of her husband. She's got hardly anything again in the cupboards, hardly any food, but where she had, she gave to him. And as a result, he says, "Tell him to hold fast onto her." And then again, when Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam comes back, that's the information he gives her. So yeah, absolutely, this unit works, but that unit works with trust. That unit works with a true partnership.
And I think you've
If
also
you
answered the Waqas with the question where the father, when he's many hours away, Ibrahim Islam was years away, sometime away from Ismail alayhi salam, and Hajar alayhi salam, obviously the talim and tarbiyat and the unit, and she knew her responsibility and she knew her duty, and she knew that this is an order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So she brought and raised Ismail alayhi salam to such that next time the father came and he's ready to slaughter his son, the son said, "Yes, dad, I'm ready." Because the ta'lim and tarbiyat was being done by the mother. Yeah, even though the father wasn't there, and Hajar alayhi salam, she did that ta'lim and tarbiyat. So next to the father, when he came and he saw the dream, I'm slaughtering my son. And he asked him, what do you think? And he said, yes, I'm ready. Because
now, for the other 50% of the population, and there's 4 men on this podcast, we spoke obviously of the rights and responsibilities of the father and the husband.
There's more women than men in the world. So
there's more women than men. Okay. What are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that we should be married to more than one woman there, Dr. Waqas Khan?
First of all, I didn't say that. Second,
you alluded to it.
It's strange how you took that meaning from what I said.
Are you saying you're proper setting him up there, Mufti Sahib, aren't you?
I try my best.
He's trying his best, but obviously he's digging a hole for himself. All I'm saying is, you said 50%.
Waqas, that's because the doors are locked.
Isn't it?
The doors are locked. His wife are here.
Really
you do know the number one fan of this podcast is my wife, so she'd actually be listening to this later on, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, so when's the doubt?
So Musab, food for you tonight, is it?
She say Buddha sareta sa khabare ko. Anyway, we were saying, so now back to the 50% plus. Now that we've realized that
the best of you, the one that best with the wives. So, she's got a status.
So go on, just elaborate on that, Molana, because you seem to be more of a romantic than me and Dr. Waqas here, so we can learn from you, inshallah.
So, you Patans.
Oh, you had to bring it in, did he? How long was that, Baba?
21 minutes.
He beat his record on Monday. Not Monday, 2 days ago. Whatever his record was. 30. Was it 30 minutes?
About 30 minutes.
About 30 minutes, alhamdulillah.
This is the only way we're going to get much more viewers, so,
By the time we finish, on day 10, it'll be the first, it'll be opening comment.
You just say, and I'd like to get Molana Sajid to introduce today's talk, and he'll just say, you know what, you Patans are like, that's it. You'll be like, 30 seconds.
But Monsab, today, make sure there's a flower shop down your road, from your house.
Yeah.
Make sure
you're well acquainted, Molana.
Yeah. He's a regular. Every time I walk in, oh, Sajid, are you here? I said, no, it's Amjed. Is it going to be the usual again then, Sajid? No, it's Amjed.
See, I'm teaching you. See, I don't need to do beyond. I'm teaching you.
See, his practice, Waqas, his practice is what he's educating.
It's about romance. It's about love nowadays. It's not about hatred.
Love is a great emotion, right?
So, Molana Sajid, if you could just elaborate a little bit on how in what way are men not looking after the women as they should do? Some of the issues that we might exist in our community. Some of the issues that we need to tackle, let's not stick our head in the sand.
I think husband and wife.
I know it's a bit light-hearted, but let's tackle a few serious topics.
I think the thing is, like we said, that unit is the foundation of the family unit, and the thing is, if that unit is strong, family is strong, and husband and wife. Obvious, alhamdulillah, the best role model was our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and how was he, with Hazrat Khadija, Hazrat Aisha, and all the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen. He was loving and caring towards them, and he would look at their nature and how they were with the Aisha. He would, run with her. He would, eat from the same plate, drink from the same cup.
I don't know if you'd be able to act on that, Molana Sajid, but you could roll or something, couldn't you?
Come here.
Oh, he's very brave, isn't he? He knows his wife's not watching it, that's why he did that.
Do you know him? That's why.
Yeah, but she can watch it later. You fall into that trap. This is recorded, Molana.
We're all dead tonight, innit? So,
I'm gonna second. I haven't said anything.
No, Baba,
don't be killing me off.
You can't just, Baba. You
the
can't
silent
just
ones are the deadly ones,
right?
The silent
Baba,
ones
you
are
can't
the
just
deadly
sit there
ones.
innocently. We're gonna drag you into this.
Anyway, to all the viewers, Baba's putting down a lot of comments. So Baba's commenting a lot, but he's not talking. So,
Oh, is he? Where's he commenting? I'm not seeing this.
Can you not see the love hearts and all the love hearts on the comments?
No, where are we looking?
No.
Like, comment, share.
I'm missing that anyway.
No,
but Molana, you mentioned there, and it's, we sometimes say that the expectation from a husband about his wife, where he expects her to be angelic and everything. That's the way. There were difficult times the Prophet faced with his wives. As fantastic as they are, and obviously, I'm not saying this in a way to disgrace them. I cannot, honor them any more than they are. They are the most honorable women that ever walked the surface of the earth. They were blessed to be in the presence of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to be in such a relationship with him, for some to bear his children. And this is a remarkable relationship, and they're blessed with the best in the hereafter as they were in the dunya. However, just for the sake of an example that we've talked about, leading examples, there were times where there were disagreements between the Prophet ﷺ and his wives, and it was a case of how he managed that, wasn't it, Molana? Can you share maybe a story or two of how he managed that?
Yeah, like
or
you
I
said,
just put you on the spot.
You put me on the spot, but also
Sorry, Al.
so like you said, I think biggest thing between husband and wife and in a marriage is hacking one another, because like you said, you'll have your rosy moments and you'll have your shaky moments, and and both moments should make you stronger together. So the thing is, when you go through both moments, you should be happy and you should be content. And even when she's having a go at you or you're having a go at her, that's part of your relationship, and that should bring you closer. And especially in this day and age, Muqtab, like we're seeing, unfortunately, the rates of divorces or whatever else, marriage and forget anything else. People can't hack anybody, or people don't have the time for anybody. And unfortunately, in relationship, when we don't have time for our other half, I think that's when it does start to suffer. And like you said, sometimes it's not time, but it's valuable time, making time valuable between yourselves, and enjoying that time between yourselves and your family, your kids, your children. And then what happens is obvious when you give her that respect and honor, then she's going to give you that respect and honor, and she's going to instill that within the children, and the children will always respect the parents because they've got that tarbiyat done. And through Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, like you said, many examples that just like we see the rosy and the happy times, there were times that were hard, like the time when Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anha was blamed for something, and that was tough on Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and the tuhmah that was done upon Hazrat Aisha, and it's tough on Hazrat Aisha. She was a young woman, an innocent woman. It's like I always say, if you steal, at least you benefit, you stole something. But if you don't steal it and somebody says to you, you're a thief, that's hurtful because you're getting blamed for something you've not done. Hazrat Aisha was in that state that she's not done anything, and now the best of creation, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, has just moved away from her for a short time, and she's not getting that love and affection. So what must have gone over her, and what must have gone over Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because he loved her deep down, and from the virtues of Hazrat Aisha, that when Nabi Sallallahu was asked, who do you love the most, and he replied, Aisha. And so the love for Aisha was immense for Nabi Sallallahu. So the thing is, but that was a test in time for that relationship. And look at, obviously Allah cleared the name of Aisha radiallahu anha, but our Prophet was example that, again, tolerance, until everything.
And it's also one about communication, isn't it? Sometimes, when communication is not there, we start holding ill feelings. We start making assumptions. I always say that, an argument is the cupping of a marriage. Every now and then you got to let some bad blood go. So it doesn't hurt to every sort of 3-4 weeks or no need to time it, put it into your diary that I had an argument. I had an argument with the missus like for about 4 weeks. So it's about time. It's about time it's about time I started an argument with her. But sometimes it's good just to kind of get it out.
What behind you? She's coming. She's got a pan.
Well, she's very used one that doesn't bend that easily. I'll have to buy another one then. So what I mean is sometimes having that kind of the argument, whatever, we can turn molehills into mountains as well. So let it pass. Yeah, whatever happened, X happened, Y happened, it's done. Move on. Let's not hold things. Let's not make things into something bigger than it actually is. And it's essential as well.
I was saying to Waqas that day, look, when you fight, who do you fight? You fight with your own brothers. You fight with your own family members. You don't fight with somebody.
I always fight with somebody I think I can beat. I don't try to fight with somebody who I think is going to beat me. Then I'm going to lose the fight. I wouldn't do it. Like, look at Babar. I heard that he's a jiu-jitsu champion. I told you I'll drag him in this, Babar. I heard like he's a champion. I wouldn't want to get into a fight with him.
But that's it. You won't get in a fight with Babar, but you get in a fight with your missus, won't you? You probably get in a fight with your children or whatever.
Yeah, because I don't think I have a chance. I don't think I have a chance against Babar. I think I might have a chance against.
That's it. But because you might not have a chance or whatever else, in a relationship.
Babar, you're not biting.
I'm not gonna fight her. I would
Bob,
even if you hit me, Mufti Saab, I wouldn't retaliate. You can beat me.
but Babar, it's quite easy. Just knock him. You're on top of him now. Just knock him down.
Just punch downwards.
Yeah, go punch down. There.
You meant to move like that.
Yeah, no, this I'm moving the wrong way. I'm actually moving towards the punch, but I'll get used to it. I'll get used to it.
My point is that obviously you're gonna have fallout between yourselves, and the thing is, you make up. Okay, sometimes you might even go to sleep that she won't talk to you. You just, you know what, you just go to sleep, and next day everything back to normal. Then sometimes there's no need to prolong an argument. If it's, if you've had a little whatever, if something's happened, let it be. You understand? One of you just stay quiet and let the other one just let the steam out. And there'll be a time that you're gonna let your steam out, and she'll have to stay quiet. So the thing is, just you've got to be patient, and next year you'll see everything rosy again, and she'll make you a cup of tea, and you'll.
But sometimes, Molana, we take things for granted, don't we? We don't actually apologize to those people. So, Waqas, would you agree that when an opportunity presents itself, we should apologize? We'd apologize to somebody else on the street if we knocked into them or did something bad to them. We say, "Oh, sorry, mate," whatever. But we just kind of take family for granted a little bit. I don't know why you're smirking there, but anyway, I'm sure you'll elaborate on your smirk. Bismillah.
Yeah, one should apologize when they feel they're wrong. But if they feel they're not wrong, then why should they apologize?
But then won't that become an issue with one's wife because on her perspective, she might think that you're wrong, and if you think she's wrong, then no one's talking to each other.
But the point I'm trying to raise is that if you're giving an empty sorry, then it's not there, though, is it?
Obviously, I'm saying a genuine sorry, or at least what's a leaf that you always hand in peace? Is it olive leaf, clover leaf?
Olive branch.
Olive branch, yeah. So at least offer an olive branch for discussion.
Well, most of it's like there's no wrong or rights in it in a relationship between husband and wife. The thing is, even if somebody's right, you just give in. You just say, yeah, TK, don't matter. Like Waqas, I'm sure sometimes you just say sorry just to keep her happy in it.
But there might be food. Sorry, Barbara, what were we saying?
I was saying if you look at the overall thing and you think, actually, this isn't that big of a topic to me. You might just offer it. Say, it's just not worth the argument.
But what if it's a fundamental issue?
Yeah,
example.
I can't think of anything. Like there was not enough salt in your salad or something. That's a bit serious. Or there was not enough. There was not enough chili. There was not enough chili in your salad that night or something. I don't know. So much serious as that.
I know, but I say these are petty things. That's why sometimes I don't know. This in me, yeah. Look at the grand scheme of things. What people go through. That if somebody hasn't put a bit of salt in, or the chili's a bit less, so what? She spent the 3 hours cooking that meal for you, yeah, and you still got time to complain. Just do,
I think what Molana Sajid is trying.
And I think sorry, Doctor, let me just finish that point. Nabi Sallallahu, if he didn't like a particular meal, again for whatever reason it was, he didn't eat it. You don't need to say to your wife, "Oh, you did this." Just stay quiet and just eat the other dish that probably prepared as well. And you don't need to comment. Sometimes just silence is a good treatment. Do you understand, between yourselves? And the one that stays quiet and saves himself, and like you're all staying quiet. You see?
Yes,
you've got a big smirk in your face now, haven't you?
No, I'm just laughing at Molly. I'm getting all my pointing wrong. I'm just laughing at Molly Sajid.
Go up there.
Why?
Mine is easy. Go up there or there.
No, do that way.
Something like that. So have we really touched upon the husband's responsibilities to his wife though? What are his responsibilities? Waqas, what would you say? Responsibilities?
I think maintaining the house in terms of looking after it, like paying the bills, maintaining her, make sure her needs are fulfilled. He has to maintain that, not just in terms of physical things like clothes and food, but in terms of an emotional side of things. Because at the end of this is another person, this is another human being. They have emotional needs as well. There are times, like I think Molana alluded to, that a person just needs to speak, and maybe not in this program, but previously he's mentioned that just sometimes a person just needs to say things, and they need someone to say those things too. And so there are emotional needs attached to both the husband and the wife, and so she may just need to give and make sure. I think make sure that everything in the house is running smoothly from that perspective, and then if there's children involved, make sure that the children are adequately maintained with those spectrum of things as well. Something like that.
Molana, you want to add to that?
No, Waqas, mashallah, I don't think I was listening to you.
Think of it, please.
I just had a message. I was just
He had a
reading
message. He had a message from his wife, Waqas. So obviously he prioritized, and he saw the hold on. The immediate needs are my missus who's texting me.
so sorry, Waqas. No, mashallah. I'm sure you said very good things, and no,
I
yeah.
didn't know the wrong things against Islam. You use your opportunity to correct me, but
No, mashallah, like you said, yeah, definitely. Father responsibility, husband responsibility, maintaining the house.
We were
and-
actually, we were.
and also make sure that they get a bunch of roses and a box of chocolate and what else is there?
that's
That's
expensive.
about it. That's more than enough. That's more than enough.
Is more than enough? Okay.
No. Yeah.
That's quite
So-
expensive.
Who can I ask you a silly question? Who's got Eid gift for their wife?
I'm coming back home.
It's online
They-
nowadays.
they-
You can do it online.
There's plenty of time, and you know, sometimes surprising yourself about what you're going to buy for your wife is even better. So
Yeah.
you're not surprised your wife is enough.
Musa, I can't wait till your wife watches this program tonight.
You know what you could do? All you
She
have to do,
can
Molana,
say
is
to
just,
you, you should learn from that guy.
she will, you know, she will say that. You know what you need to do, Molana? You just send me some red ribbon, and I'll just tie red ribbon on myself, and I'll gift myself to her house.
Anyway, make sure you order.
She might want to send it back though. She might say there's something damaged.
Return address.
Can we return it?
Make sure you all order something for your wife. Okay, it's all online now.
Inshallah.
Online shopping.
Oh,
got few
Molana
days.
knows how to get in the good books, doesn't he? Because so
Yeah.
they are. So what about okay?
These are
Gee.
tricks of the trade. So you got
They
to
are.
learn
You're
the
obviously
tricks of
been in the trade. You've been in the trade a lot longer than us.
That's
So
it.
you know what
Anyway,
you
yeah,
do.
moving on to children, is it?
Moving on. So okay, so let's talk about now responsibilities. You know, obviously I work in a madrasa, so numerous times when I've called parents to account. Sorry.
He's in the masjid and he's running away. His wife's at home.
That's what I mean. What happened?
See,
He said he
looks
was
like you
back.
scared him.
Okay. So anyway, what was I saying? Yeah. So working in a madrasa, you know, you speak to parents and they'll say that, well, you know, my responsibility was to bring them into the world. It's your Molvi's job now to raise them. And, you know, you hear that too much as well, that parents, you know, have children, but they don't know that, you know, with the child comes great responsibility and sacrifice. And it's not a 1 year, 2 year project. This is a 15, 20 year project now, at least. And I've got to commit that kind of life. But they want to carry on with their social life. They want to, you know, still go out. The husband wants to go out. The wife wants to go out. They want to carry on living like the way they did before they had children. And now the children are just like kind of in the way. So as Muslims, we have to understand that once we've committed to something like this, obviously we are instructed by the Prophet ﷺ to have children, to then obviously raise because he wants the ummah to grow. And then obviously then to raise them because one of the three things which a person will find great comfort in is obviously the child that they've raised continuously carrying on their good deeds once they've passed away. Because in a way, a child is also an investment. And in investing into that child, like the amount of time we spend, you know, if someone's in shares, they'll be continuously checking the share price or something, maybe on a daily basis or regularly, see, is the share price going up, is it going down, whatever. And in a similar way, they've got to be taking that level of responsibility with their children as well. We're quick to kind of call on the children and say, you know, they don't fulfill our rights. But before rights are fulfilled, the elders must show love to the young. That's the first part. If elders show love to the young, then the respect will come automatically. So when you see those elders, and I think, Waqas, you were mentioning one or two when we were in podcast number 1, I think, and you were mentioning certain individuals, and the way you remember them was because of the love that they showed. And when we mentioned the Prophet, he was remembered because of the love he showed. I remember, I forgot the name of the Sahabi, when the Prophet crept up behind him and held him and said, "Who'll buy this slave off me?" Or, you know, before that he said, "Who is it?" And the Sahabi says, "I knew who it was immediately, but I enjoyed the comfort of him embracing me." So I didn't guess it straight away. So when you start hearing stories like this, where companions are speaking of a man in such a way, such a description, then and yet would our children be able to describe us in that way? As fathers, would our children be able to say that, I miss my dad if he was to go out, or, they're really happy? So these are the type of serious kind of questions we've got to have. And if our children don't like us, then we've got to ask the question why that is.
And I think most of the issues that you deal with today nowadays, and when I have youth like 21, 22 years, they come and they've got issues with their parents and domestic issues. And what happens is when you listen to the youngsters, whether it be a boy or a girl, um, sometimes you do think that why are parents not listening? And sometimes parents can be stubborn in their way, and as climate's changed, and sometimes parents have to be adaptable. And I remember just a couple of months ago, I was talking to our father, and he had these issues with his daughters, especially as they're growing up. So I said to him, look, like you have issues, especially they want mobile phones, they want this, that, the other. And so I said, look, sometimes it is a difficult thing, and let's be realistic. Yeah, we say that they can't have these things, but everybody else around them has got it. All the school friends have it. So then the next responsibility is, okay, if you're gonna have it as a parent, how do I control that him having or her having the mobile phone, or the safety aspect of it and online safety and whatever. So the thing is, if parental responsibilities do come in, and sometimes then when you sit both the children down and the parents, the father will keep on complaining about the child, and then you say, okay, he's that is everything, but did you pick up your responsibilities? And unfortunately, sometimes they don't, and because of that, the children are just going to drifted away from their parents. So that's why it's a two-way thing. Children need to respect and follow their parents and obey, the orders as long as according to Sharia and everything. But at the same time, parents need to look at the environments that their children will go to, especially as they change into from primary school to high school. Their bodies are changing, the environment around them is changing, um, and you've got to safeguard them. And so parents just need that safeguarding. They've got to be there with them. And I think the best way is you have to befriend them and be your son daughter's best friend. Say, Putter, look, if you need something, I'm here. I'm your first point of contact. Yes, you will have friends, you'll have all the peer pressure, everything. But Putter, don't be scared to come and talk to me about any issues. And with me, like I'll give you my personal example. When my father, I remember when I was in high school, on the way back, we used to sit on the upper deck, and so I would sit at the front. But what would happen? People that would smoke at the back, the effect of the smoke would be on your jumper. And I came home one day, and so my father just took me into the room, and he said to me, "But have you been smoking?" I said, "No," and he said, "I can smell smoke," and so I said, "Dad, I see on the upper deck, and people do smoke, and you know." He goes, "Anyway, if you have, and my dad long time ago did smoke, but he when he had children, then he gave up. He goes, but I did smoke, and these are negative harms of smoking, and don't go into it. It's not good. And I remember the 2 3 year incident, even when I was getting, when you're going toward maturity, he explained to me these are the signs and symbols, and he explained to me, and that was a quite embarrassing one, because when he said to me, Putra, do you have wet dreams? And like thinking, you say, yeah, you're gonna get a punch, but he said, no, Putra, this is normal. You're going to go to that stage, but you need to know your three fards of ghusl. Do you understand? And I thought, wow, it's sometimes you might miss that in class in madrasa, but my dad taught me that. Do you understand? And like that, when it came up to marriage, even he sat me down and said, "Putter, what do you want? Where do you want to get married?" Do you understand? So you know what? Because I had that friend, and I knew that, look, if I have an issue, I can come to him. I could feel comfortable talking to my father. But like I said, on the other hand, my father was aware that society does change, and things change around, and I've got to listen to them. You understand? I can't just force my own upon them. And I think it's mutual respect and understanding between parents, children, that everybody, children need to understand their parents might be from back home. They've got might have a different mentality, and you have to accept that. Do you understand? And their values are stronger, and they're stronger in their values, and they've got to respect that. The children need to respect parents, and parents need to understand, look, we're living in a society that's always changing, and our children are part of that society. Like, look at us today. We're sat here in front of a camera, but we never thought this day would come that we'll be. I know Mutsa are quite popular on the on video, but ourselves, this is new to us. You understand? But you've got circumstances that has arisen that we've got to adopt to these kind of circumstances. So, you know, it's a two-way thing. A mutual respect, understanding between the father towards children and children towards parents is a big thing.
Yes. Sometimes you find though that some parents lack that confidence. So what used to be somebody whose movements and everything you could control. So for example, if your child is 7, 8, 9 years old, you tell them when to go to the toilet, whether they're going to go with you to the chacha's house or not. You literally control every aspect of their life, what they wore and everything. Suddenly, obviously, the child is now growing up and expressing their own identity. Where they want to go, what they want to do. They don't want to go to Chacha's house today. They want to go play football. And a parent then sometimes who lacks that kind of confidence. I know you're not listening to Molana Sajid because you're on your phone sending romantic messages to your wife. Can you not wait, Molana?
No,
Can this not wait? These romantic little sweethearts you're sending constantly.
My wife's saying who these people that don't have no care for their wives at home. We demand our women's right, and
just tell her that you're educating us, inshallah. So all will be good. So what I'm saying is that parents sometimes lack that confidence, and they don't like the child expressing their identity because they may not want to do the sort of things the father has always done. They may want to do different things, and I think parents have to, part of their responsibility is not to control this young person for the rest of their life, but to be confident enough to say, I'm happy if this child becomes an independent person, because they need to become independent. If it's a bloke, then obviously he's going to become a father one day. He's going to become a husband first. And then when this man's getting married, then, poor guy doesn't know which way around to do what, he's been sort of, kind of like, the phrase mothered for so long. He doesn't know now, the simplest things of looking after a house. And so therefore there's a balance that needs to be struck between the two. That's not necessarily shying away from responsibility, but at least nurturing that young person to develop those sorts of skills.
And I think children need to. Sorry.
So I was just going to ask. So we talked a lot about obviously the husband and the wife, and we talked a lot about the children and in the young age of development. But obviously the time is also going to come where the children have grown up and they still have their elderly parents. So what are some of the responsibilities when the parents are elderly and some of the kind of relationships and responsibilities at that point when the parents are a little bit older?
I think now this lockdown is a perfect example. Those people that want to send their parents to care homes, and the thing is, we need to value our parents. They are our Jannat. They are our doors to Jannat, and whatever goes around is going to come around. And if we treat our parents any bad, then tomorrow don't expect your children to treat you any good. And
is sending to a care home a bad thing? If you can't,
sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm trying to say is that the thing is, sometimes circumstances, and again, there have been people. Now you realize that care homes are good places for some people, and they need to be there. They probably get better care there than at home. You understand? You have to be realistic. Now I only know this again because my mom suffered a stroke, and I know that we do take care of her, but it's 24-hour care now. You understand? And we had to prepare ourselves mentally, physically, adapt our changes in our houses to her needs. You understand? So the thing is, it's not easy. Not everybody. If somebody never had a big enough house or whatever else, they might not be able to pick up that responsibility, and not as their fault. It's just that they can't accommodate, and you have to and you realize these things until again we might sometimes on the pulpit just think, oh yeah, you don't look after pets. Sometimes these places might be good places. What I'm trying to say to you is that we've got to respect and honor, like our Quran, Hadith teachers. They are our Jannat, and the thing is, we've got to do the best we can to them, and all the way till the last moments. And I think that's the greatest honor, as a child that he can do is to serve his parents. And now even when it comes to janazah, the rights of the parents is that his close ones do the janazah. So the thing is, we should be such, Muslim, strong Muslims that we should be there for our parents all the way to, and that gives you contentment that, you're there with your parents. And like, you've got to be realistic. If you've got 4 or 5 brothers, you can't expect everybody to look after the parents. Probably one family will live with the parents, but everybody's still got to play a part. The other brothers got to play a part, that they've got to come see their parents, take them out or whatever it may be, take them to their houses and, serve them. I remember when parents get old, and I think me and Waqas were talking about this yesterday, uh, sometimes, especially when they retire, it can get very difficult for fathers, or when they become poorly or ill in some kind of way, life becomes difficult for them, and they rely on you guys. And if you're not there, then it can be disheartening. And so do as much as you can. I know I've lost a father, and the thing is, every day, not a day goes past that I don't think about him. And now, mom is in the situation she's in, and you know, you've got to value them, and I can't, say enough of that. And the thing is, they're your Jannat, and like I said, now my children are seeing that what we're doing for our mother, and all that can only benefit them. Like I said, I don't need to teach my children, you need to look after your mom and dad. You need to. They're seeing us look after our parents. Inshallah, we've got hope that then tomorrow they'll take care of us when we need them. And that's the.
If not, Mona, don't worry. I'll find one of those big green bins and well, stick an old mattress in it and put you in it. And every now and then we'll come around with one of them bags and look after you.
I'll just move into your house. What's up?
No, that's even better. I'll move out straight away.
That's good. I love the old house to myself.
You got the full house to yourself, inshallah.
Where's the Ikram gone? Where's the love?
Yeah, sorry. Because this one is not about showing love. This is about family responsibility. So I thought I'd just stay. No. You have to stay in the right frame of mind throughout, up until another 10 minutes. And then after that, then we can show love.
Oh, mashallah.
No, definitely parents, and even children, like I said, parents need to value their children. Allah has given them a gift. Ask those parents that don't have children, they've lived for 30, 40 years, they've got no children. If Allah has given you children, one child, two child, however many boys and girls, sometimes we have the issue where people got girls and they've got no boys and they're a bit upset, or the other way around. And no, whatever Allah has given you, that's a din from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet's wives, they would wish they were barren at times, and they would wish that they had a child, and when Allah Ta'ala blessed them, they were so happy. We know the example of Sarah. So the thing is, like I said, first of all, your children are gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do their ta'aleem, do their tarbiyat, and that doesn't mean 24 hours you just need to give them ta'aleem. That means, be with them, spend time. Valuable time is very important, and valuable time is just having a laugh, having a joke between yourself. Put your iPads away, put your phones away, and just sit and talk about the, what you used to get up to in your young age, and all the musti that you did, and tell your children about it. There's no point hiding. You open up for everything, and meaning that you share your we were talking again with our children. Musab, you're gonna. Musab's not gonna be on here tomorrow, boys. So alone with you was tomorrow. So, and the janaza Mufti Sam will take this.
I'll look into availability now.
Yeah. No, inshallah, may Allah Ta'ala give Musab a long life. May Allah bless him, and may Allah just between us.
So I think there's a common theme, isn't there, that I'm picking up, Babar, throughout, which is communication. Even yesterday and the day before, communication, not holding things, looking at the bigger picture. This is the will of Allah, acceptance. It seems there's a common theme that we're picking up throughout.
100% Mufti Sahab. And it seems like if you there's an element of tolerance in here as well. So not always pushing, giving people the time to unload, and spending a lot of quality time is also what the vibe that we're getting from the kind of topics that we're picking. And it's kind of really pertinent to where we are now as well. So the situation where everyone has time. You're not rushing off to go see the boys. You're not rushing off to go do the worldly things. Everyone's got lots of time. Everyone's at home, doing stuff at home. So you can spend quality time with your children. And if you have parents at home, you can spend that quality time with your parents. You can fulfill stuff like if your parents need something, this is the perfect opportunity where you can start start serving them in that way where they spent most of their life and sacrifice most of their life serving you and bringing you up. And this is a perfect time where you can start. You can never equal what they gave up for you. You can start at least attempting to give something back. And I feel throughout the relationships that we've talked about today. So we talked about obviously the husband, his responsibilities and some of his rights, and then we talked about the wife or the mother and some of her responsibilities and her rights. There was that underlying thing that Mufti Sahib quite elegantly brought up with communication, tolerance, and just being acceptance of each other. And that sounds really rosy, and there are going to be ups and downs in each one of them relationships. So there's going to be times where, as a father, your children are not going to listen to you, but you need to step back and understand that Mufti Sahib really brought out a really good point of, and you're not living your life through them. I mean, if they don't want to go to the Chacha's house today, you know what I mean? And when you grew up, you had to go to your Chacha's house. You step back and understand that you're not reliving your youth through your children. This person's going to grow up and become a father and become his own person. And the same with like to the wife. Her responsibility isn't to do exactly as you said. She's a person in herself, like Dr. Sal was saying, and Dr. Sal really elegant when he was talking about her. And Molana Sal wasn't listening, but Molana Sal, I want to go over it just so you can get the bits that Dr. Sal was saying. So she's
been very quiet today.
No, I'm gonna bring Dr. Sabin after Babar as well.
I was in older people than I, so
No, I think there's something happened when he had to leg in between. There's some phone call came or some message.
What happened over there?
Waqas, you're in the masjid. She's not here. Don't worry.
There's a few people here. I had to let them in from the side door. Quietly there. We're gonna have a party after this closes down. I'm not really speaking to them. They're signaling to me. They're pulling faces.
I was gonna bring you in there, Waqas, as well. Is that me and Molana Sajid slightly older. Obviously, Molana Sajid is exceptionally old.
I'm still
you
younger
being
than you.
You are, no, I know you are younger than me. But what's a young man's view on family responsibilities? Maybe we're even not. I want to say a generation apart, but we're maybe half a generation or so apart. How is a more younger person's view on family responsibilities?
I think the principles will never change because those are principles. Principles always stay the same throughout whatever generation you're in, whether we're in the time of the Prophet, whether we're in the past predecessors or even now or far in the future from us. The principles will always stay the same. And most of those you've spoken about, but it's just how we deliver those that might change. So family cohesion and things like this. This family cohesion may have been a predominant thing in our upbringing, where we went to see relatives quite regularly. But now we might just keep it to rather than a macro, a more of a micro thing. So we keep it innately to our own close knit family, and then maybe to a certain extent to a few select people, more friends than anything else. So most of the things that I would like to say you've already had, showing commitment to each other, or honouring each other, being there for each other, listening, and being the role model that you want to see. If the husband or the father is the role model and he's the guide or he's the map, then it's pretty easy for the children to say, look, this is who I want to be. And certainly growing up myself, my role model, the person, if I can even exude maybe even a percentage of what my father is, then I may have achieved something in my life. But we have, even if we don't have our own fathers or our own people as role models, we've got the best role model in our Islamic heritage is the Prophet. So if we try and exude even try to get a percentage of his life into our lives, then we may have achieved something, and we may have got that, not just a smooth family life per se, because as you know, life or family relationship to any type of relationship, life in itself is not plain sailing. There are ups, there are downs. But it's in both of those ups and downs we're grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even in our so-called lows, because it's a low from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a given from Allah to try and test us. And Baba Rulgay mentioned that Allah does not test a believer with that which he cannot bear. And that should be a referring word, or ayat from the Quran that we can use all the time that, if I'm in this predicament right now, Allah has blessed me with this, and I've got the tools, inshallah, to get through it. And then we look back and I think, that was just a pebble in the shoe. There's a parable, a small story I try and use sometimes in the hospital. You get some people come inside the hospital who are quite anxious, quite stressed, and they might have had maybe a little muscular-ish pain in the chest, and when one is 60 years old or something, and this is not obviously a statement for everyone. If you've got these symptoms, please get it checked out. So sometimes some persons may just have overthought it. Once we've clarified that, alhamdulillah, there's nothing wrong with this person, and there's no urgent need of any treatment, and there's no necessarily any treatment for this person, and I'm confident that this person is okay, and we've got everything, all the clinical details to match that. And then I was shared a story a while back from an older, very old lady, and she said, look, life is, and she's an English lady, non-Muslim, and she said life is just, imagine you've got a shoe, and you've just found out in the shoe you've got a stone in there, and it's uncomfortable. What would you do? And I said the logical idea was take you off your shoe, throw the stone out, and put your shoe back on. She says yes, because whenever you feel in life you've got a stone in your shoe, then take your shoe off, take the stone out, throw it away. But what happens immediately when you put your shoe back on? You appreciate the shoe that little bit more. And I think from any difficult point you have in life, you can take that little story, anecdotal story. Certainly, if you have any health problems, please go see a professional. I need to reiterate, even with these stories that we're going around that hospitals are doing X, Y, and Z. If you need to see a clinician, please see the clinician. All the doctors and hospitals will be more happy enough to see you. There's no problems going to get yourself checked out and making sure you're okay if you're unwell. But yeah, in general, if you get a small little bump in your life or speed bump in your life or whatever it is, then use the old lady's story. Take the pebble out, enjoy the shoe a little bit more, and then carry on walking. And I think those are just a few ideas that were shared with me over time. And
MashaAllah, Dr. Saab, really good.
Baba, can I just add on one more thing?
And then I'll add on to what you just add.
Okay.
One thing.
Just coming up to an hour, guys, so just be wary of that.
Okay.
Bismillah.
Yeah, Molana, you got no more than 10 seconds. Bismillah.
Okay. Realistic expectations. I think parents towards children, remember, sometimes all your children will not be the same. You might want them all to become Hafiz Alim, whatever, or sometimes you want them all to be educated. They'll have different skills, they'll have different levels of IQ, whatever, and you have to accept that, and you have to work around them. And just like that, the children also have to be realistic with their parents. Sometimes parents might not be educated, do you understand? Or sometimes they might not be religious or something. But they're still your parents at the end of the day. They're still, to look after them is your fault. Do you understand? And to take care of them is your fault. So realistic expectations in the family. If you have realistic expectations, the thing is, you won't be over
Disappointed.
Yeah, or disappointed in any other way. So that's my point.
I was going to go just on the back of Waqas' story. Sometimes when we find that pebble in our shoe, we don't just chuck the pebble away, we throw the shoe away. So the problem that we have is, say we.
So you got new shoes for Eid.
Yeah. So what you need to do is that the relationships that we are in, we see something in the child, we disconnect with the child. We see something we don't like in the wife, we disconnect with the wife. We see something we don't like in the parent, we disconnect. So it's you work on the issue that's there, not necessarily the relationship, if that makes sense. The person. So I just thought you can now add a little anecdotal story. You could say an old lady said this, and then an old man said afterwards this.
But you're considerably younger than that old lady. That old lady, bless her, she's still alive, bless her. She was 90 odd.
90 odd.
I'm quite close to that age, yeah.
I'm a couple of years younger.
Just a few, right?
Well, that age she was very well. She was a bit just constipated at the time, and I know this is the wrong.
What are you saying about Musa? You're not well.
I don't know.
No, I was more concerned whether he thought I was constipated, but that's just the way the sea is. Yeah, look, I'm all right.
But alhamdulillah, she was okay. She went home, but she parted some good advice.
Some wise words, mashallah. So I think we're gonna start wrapping up there. Mashallah, we've covered pretty much a lot of the family dynamic there. So some parting words before we leave. So as you can see, scrolling along the bottom of the screen, or there it is. bottom of the screen is the bank details of Jazakallah Mufti Sahab, the bank details of Masjid Umar. So if you could, we have new fund projects going on, and obviously in this time where everyone's locked up and people are not going to the masjid as much, the income of the masjid has dramatically dropped. And where we would normally, well, am I doing Dr. Saab's role?
No, Dr. Saab was waving at somebody. That's
Okay.
it's all right.
The income of the masjid has dramatically dropped, and the masjid needs the community. Just like it's been serving the community for all this time, it's time the community in this time will need the masjid needs the community. So if you use the details below, there's the bank detail that you can do bank transfers. After that's difficult and complicated, we've set up a GoFundMe for the new build project. So though there's some details on there, there's a little promotional video that you can go look at. So go have a look at them. Also daily, Molana Rais is putting out lectures, bayans about the life of the Prophet ﷺ, and we should all really invest time in learning about the Prophet ﷺ, the best of examples to mankind. So it's really worthwhile. They're about an hour. There's a full playlist of them, so go have a look at them on the Paradise Academy YouTube page. Molana Sajid is putting out a lot of content around the Anbiya and stories from the Quran, and there are also some amazing examples in there and some stuff you can really look and take away. And the topics that we're talking about all really do relate, and you can kind of find similarities between, say, oh, okay, I understand some of them topics. So go have a look at them as well, and share, like, subscribe. All this stuff helps us, helps our awareness, and helps this message that we're trying to promote get out there. Is there anything else? Parting words from anybody?
I think it was
Spread the love.
Spread the love, inshallah.
Musab, you know where you're going after this?
No, online. Online orders.
I'm actually online straight after 5 o'clock. What time is it now? 4:40. So I'm online in 15 minutes, inshallah.
Okay.
Ananda.
Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum, and until next time.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.